Thanks to those joining me live and to those that'll be joining me on Archive. DStyle here. If you listen to Archive, take a moment, throw a jab at that like button. If you like the content, hit subscribe. And remember, hit that notification button, that bell button, like if it's a speed bag. Okay, you'll see it shake, and you'll get those notifications every time. Man, boy, do we got some right now. We got Ashy Knuckles in the house, and we got Joe Habib in the house.
The boys are back in town.
There you go. Ash, man, people have not heard from you in a while, man. How you been?
Man, I'm doing great. For anybody out there that was, wondering where I've been, just taking care of business, man, surviving. You know what I'm saying? Still been plugged in with the sport, so, I'm still a boxing fan at heart, man.
Well, yeah, definitely. We got to get your thoughts, man. We got to get your thoughts. Andy Ruiz upsetting the world. Man, what was your reaction to that fight?
Well, to be honest, I was not surprised that he was able to pull it off, but I did not think he was going to pull it off. One thing I kept telling a lot of the guys in a close circle that I deal with nowadays is that ain't no Mexicans in London, bro. And the only thing that's going to prepare you to fight a tough Mexican is to fight a tough Mexican. And that's the point blank honest truth, because we already know, I used to say this a lot on my channel, even though I'm not Mexican. I always say Mexicans are the toughest fighters in the world, bro. They got some extra in them that you just got to be prepared to deal with. They're going to keep coming. Anybody that know Ashy Knuckles know I've always stood by that. Ain't no the only reason why I say that is I live in Texas. You know what I'm saying? I live in Texas. Yeah. We all come up together. You know what I'm saying? The minorities. You know what I'm saying? And you just got to be prepared to go through that water when you're dealing with somebody who's not willing to back down. And it just happens to be a point in the fight where Ruiz put AJ in that place he hasn't been in, or that place he's only been in once. And I'm not sure he was ready to be in that place with somebody who wasn't willing to back away. So, it's not like he was not fighting well, AJ, but I think he gave up a lot. He had natural advantages in this fight that he didn't take full advantage of. You are taller than this guy. You have longer reach than this guy. Use your natural advantages. You know what I'm saying? Put that jab on him. Stay away from him. You know what I'm saying? Go to the body. He's kind of soft down there. Set that shit up. But a true boxer at the top of his game with his fight with his jab. So I think Ruiz just exposed the deficiencies that was already in his game that were going to be exposed at some point anyway. Ruiz is not, he does nothing for the eyes as far as the way he's built, but I've always stood on the fact that bodybuilding and boxing are two separate sports, and they should be respected as such. But it was what he brought to the ring as far as his intangibles that made it so competitive, and that's the fact that he's not a tall guy, you know what I'm saying? But he has for a weeble wobble looking ass dude, he has decisively fast hands, and he a heavy guy, so his punches got some thud on it right off the bat. He weighs clearly over 200 pounds. His walk-around weight got to be closer to 300 pounds. You know what I'm saying? Probably. So his punches, even though he may not get you out of there with one all the time, his punches got that thud on them. And if those punches are beating the other guy to the punch and you're not able to see it coming, it's going to have a whole lot more damage than it normally would. So, and I think over time it just paid dividends. When the fight got into the trenches, we saw what Joshua was made of, at least on that night. So we'll see what happens in the future if they do it again.
Yeah, great thoughts, man. And then we also got Joe Habib from Ringside Reporter. Tell everybody where they can find it, Joe.
Ringside Reporter Live here on YouTube, brother.
There you go, man. This feels like 2010, says AJ10 in the chat. Okay. Rope-a-dope radio in the house. Look at this. But we got to do a full reunion with Calix and Chris Carlson one day. We got to do it at least one time. right?
Yeah, why not? That would be real cool, man.
Yeah. We'll even call it Rope a Dope Live or something. We'll figure something out. We'll do a reunion show one day, a full one. And someone asking for links to the zone. I know you could purchase the zone. I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
I couldn't help you there. Sorry, man. Sorry, bro. So look, the heavyweight division in general, Joe. Like, how do you see the landscape right now in heavyweight? But specifically, is heavyweight? Are heavyweights, have they already taken over? Are they gonna take over again? Can Ruiz or any heavyweight, surpass Canelo, for example, as the most popular fighter in the sport?
Well, one thing that I heard today, I was listening to an interview on IFL TV. Shout out to IFL TV. And they were interviewing Tyson's brother. I believe his name's Luke Fury. And they were asking, Coogan asked him, when do you think Tyson's gonna fight Deontay Wilder again? When do you think he's gonna start going after the bigger names? And he replied, well, he really doesn't have to. He's got a contract, and he's getting paid a lot of money just to fight guys like Tom Schwartz. So eventually he will fight those guys, but I mean, he's in no rush to fight those guys. So judging by those comments, I mean, you got a lot of players in the game, but the thing is, does everyone want to fight each other? You got a lot of fish in the ocean, but do they all want to swim together? That's the big problem we have because, again, each guy or Joshua didn't have an exclusivity contract with the zone, but it was pretty much understood that that's where he fought and that's where he was getting paid big money. Everyone knows about Tyson Fury's big deal. And Deontay Wilder seems to be getting paid pretty well over at Showtime now. And, Fury came out and said today, you know what, I didn't sign that contract. So we could end up seeing a Ruiz Wilder matchup if Ruiz gets by Joshua in the rematch. And a lot of people think that's a given, but I'm not so sure. I mean, is Ruiz's style just that type of style that would bother Joshua, that he can't deal with it? He just has a style that Joshua can't figure out. We've seen Joshua struggle against shorter guys. He didn't look great against Carlos Takam. Takam, I thought, was landing good right hands on him. Povetkin, I had up before he got stopped in the fight. And Joseph Parker, I thought he came on late in that fight too. So the big thing with Joshua, is the deficiencies is that jab. He paws it out there and he brings it back real slow. He throws a real lazy jab at times, and he gets countered with those right hands. Now, can Ruiz do it again? Can lightning strike twice? Well, here's another thing I heard this week too. Manny Robles, Ruiz's trainer, he was being interviewed by some channel. I can't remember the name of it. And, they were talking about, what does Ruiz have to do to, just the same question you asked me, what does he have to do to become a star? And he goes, he just has to keep winning. And then the guy asked him, so he has to win, when's that rematch with Joshua? Is that all set? He goes, well, we just got to keep winning, regardless if it's Joshua or whoever it is. Could be Joshua. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. So that was kind of a telling statement too. So what's Ruiz's team doing behind the scenes? Is Al Heyman in his ear telling him, maybe we can get out of this rematch clause? I know I'm playing conspiracy theorist here, but those are all interesting things. When you listen to these guys talk, and it's not like it's secondhand news. I mean, they're actually in front of the camera. That's the beauty of the internet now. That's the beauty of YouTube now. We get these guys in front of the camera, and we hear what they have to say. So that seems kind of interesting to me, like, because Eddie Hearn was supposedly supposed to announce, the time and the place of this rematch by the end of this week, which he did not do. So it seems like the whole thing is not as cut and dry as we thought. We'll see what happens. But if these guys don't fight each other, then the heavyweight division, it has a lot of good names in it.
Right.
Obviously, Ruiz made it exciting by what he did. But if the networks get in the way, if the fighters end up saying to themselves, well, we don't have to really fight each other, we're all getting paid anyways, so there's no sense of urgency. So if all that plays out that way, then we got problems as boxing fans. But can Ruiz be a star? I mean, if he beats Joshua again, absolutely. I think he could definitely be a star. Can he be as big as Canelo? I think he'll have to some ground to cover before he can be as big as Canelo, because Canelo's huge. Canelo's huge.
Well, look, Boxing Dialogue says that a bilingual Mexican-American heavyweight champion just screams superstar.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
Star says 8810. Like, here's my thing. Because a lot of, maybe they're getting carried away, but I see in a lot of Spanish interviews, like, they keep bringing it up, man, Ruiz has done more in one fight to become popular than Canelo has in 50. And maybe that's a stretch, but I got to tell you, it's being talked about. It's the fact that they're bringing this up, that this guy was obscure, and now they're talking about him going to the Mexican White House. And by the way, I have a translated video. You guys could check it out. The Mexican president says that he was told by the Ruiz camp that they requested that the Mexican national anthem be played, and it was a request, and he didn't specify who, but that the quote-unquote organizers, whether that's the Zone or Matchroom, I don't know, did not want to play the Mexican national anthem, but they made the request. That was a requirement for him to agree to the fight. That is crazy. Okay, but
can I interrupt real quick?
Go ahead.
And tell you what I heard?
Yeah.
I heard Joshua was the one that was complaining about having national anthems before events, and he didn't like staying in the dressing room too long, or he said he got cold because of all the national anthems. He wanted to get right to the fight, in other words. So that was a complaint from Joshua before. I don't know if he had anything to do with.
Well, guess what, man? You fight Ruiz again, you're gonna have to wait through 2 national anthems.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ashy? Well, what do you think of the state of the heavyweight division, man? Do you think it can, be what it once was again?
Like I was alluding to, behind the scenes with this recent up, we're kind of rounding out our little golden era of this era of heavyweights, because prior to Ruiz doing this huge upset, which is huge, you know what I'm saying? This is gonna go down in history. You know what I'm saying? Prior to that, it was only Joshua and Wilder and then Fury. You know what I'm saying? But now it's rounding out. We got another player in the heavyweight division that says, "Look, I'm here. How do you know I'm here? I got the belt." You know what I'm saying? So now you got to include me in the conversation when you're trying to figure out who the best heavyweight in the world is. I just took down one of the kings. You know what I'm saying? Now, what's interesting is what can make it even more interesting is if Ortiz beats Wilder. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying it's a possibility, because they are still fighting, right? I mean, as far as I know, they didn't cancel that fight, right? The rematch?
It's in. I think that there's some negotiation going on, I believe.
Oh, okay. I thought Wilder tweeted that it's a go. So.
Oh no! I misunderstood. I apologize. I thought you were talking about Joshua Ruiz, but yes.
No.
It's a go. It's a go for sure.
It's a go. So
yeah,
it's not beyond the realm of a possibility that Ortiz can win that fight. Skill for skill, Ortiz is a very skilled southpaw heavyweight, and we haven't seen a skilled southpaw heavyweight. So what? Michael Moore? And I think Ortiz has a lot more variations to his game than Michael Moore. And Michael Moore was a pretty solid heavyweight, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so if Ortiz beats Wilder, we have our own golden era of boxing, because there's a lot of potential fights that can be made simply by having 2 upsets in this era of 2 of the kings of the sport in our glamour division, which is the heavyweights. And if that can happen, look out. The heavyweight division becomes the new hottest division in boxing, if it's not already, with this recent upset.
Yeah, if these fights get done, man, definitely, I agree with you. Heavyweight boxing is what got me interested again, man. I got interested in it again because of that. I want to thank Ringside Reporter for a $5 super chat to the DStyleBoxing Fund. Okay, you're always welcome, guys. So don't, even if you have $1, okay, do whatever you can to DStyleBoxing. It all comes back to the channel, right? All of it. I gotta get ready after this hangout thing is done. We're gonna do a lot of changes in this channel. All these super chats go towards that. All right. Someone said in the chat, A-Rod83 says it's Canelo's as in public, other than when if Canelo is in public, other than when promoting a fight and wanting to be left alone. When he doesn't have a fight, it's going to help Andy gain more fans. Okay, so probably. It's crazy, man. Somebody wants to see Ruiz versus Ortiz. What do you think of that fight, Ashy?
Man. I think, hey, we already know the all the boxing cliches. You know, we know all the boxing cliches. Styles make fights. We don't have to do the rundown of them all. I think you got like one of the most skilled heavyweights we've seen in a while. He's a little long in the tooth. I mean, he's an older fighter. I mean, for a while we thought he was about 55 years old. Ortiz, I'm talking about. Of course, that's a bit hyperbole. Of course, we were trying to figure out his age for a while. But whatever his age may be, whether he's 45 or whatever he may be, he still fights like a guy in his prime. You know, it's not like he's sluggish around the ring. He puts his shots together well. You know, he's well seasoned. His setup game is retarded. Excuse me for using that word. I actually don't mean it has special needs. I'm saying that it's off the chain. You know what I'm saying? The setup game is unbelievable.
We got hardcore boxing fans here, man. It's all good.
Oh, okay.
You know the audience. You know the hardcore boxing audience.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He got, decisively fast hands. He has great timing, and he can pick up on your rhythm. So if you're in there and you're, doing the same combination or you're moving the same way, once he pick up on what you're trying to do, it's only a matter of time before he cooks you. Now, the thing about Ruiz, to me, he can do the same thing, even though he may not be as talented. In my own opinion, he may not be as talented as Ruiz, because one thing he did show me against Joshua is when Joshua start getting in that same old funk of trying to dictate with a pawn jab, like Beeb said. All he did was pick up on Joshua's rhythm, because he knew he couldn't beat him with distance. He couldn't beat him with his height, so he had to find the right timing to get in to get his shots off. And what he did was he punched with him. Once Joshua got off, he came back. When Joshua was bringing his punch back, Ruiz was coming with him to get inside. As soon as he got through punching, he stepped inside and got his off. You know what I'm saying? So that was the way he can attack him, because he couldn't just dictate behind his jab. His arms ain't long enough. But he know his strength is getting close to him and using that hand speed that he got to get his shots off, those quick, straight shots. You know what I'm saying? To get those shots off, to at least upset his rhythm, shake him up a little bit with those stiff shots, and it worked. It worked hook, line, and sinker. So with them two getting together, Ruiz and Ortiz, I think it makes for a great fight. I'm sure Ortiz will take it because it'll be another opportunity for him to win heavyweight world championships, which is what he wants, as well as money. And for us, we get to see two top heavyweights fight who haven't fought each other. So if we can have it, let's get it.
Yeah, the landscape has, expanded for sure. Right? Without a shadow of a doubt. I think that's a by the way, great breakdown, and this is why YouTube needs Ashy Knuckles back on YouTube. Whenever you get a chance, But we're definitely glad to have you on. Great breakdown.
Appreciate that.
Most definitely. But I also I want to go to Joe here. Joe Habib, I want to talk briefly here about Bob Arum, and same question to Ashy after Joe. Look, what is it with Bob Arum just not giving Ruiz? Is he that salty, Beeb? Is he just salty? Is that what it is?
We've seen Bob Arum over the years. Whenever a fighter has left him, all of a sudden that fighter is not great anymore. Like when Mayweather left him, he said, well, Mayweather's boring. He's not really a great fighter. He's a great defensive fighter, but it's like watching paint dry, and Pacquiao's going to knock him out. And then he had his battle with Oscar De La Hoya when Oscar De La Hoya became a promoter. They had their back and forths. And Cotto, he doesn't like anymore now that Cotto's gone. Every time someone leaves, Mikey Garcia is no good anymore now that he left. And it's just ironic how everyone leaves and they go on to do bigger and better things and become more successful. And that makes him even more salty. So for him to just sit there and talk trash about Ruiz and basically give him no credit for the victory. And here's the thing. The funny thing about the whole situation is everyone that's been in the gym with Ruiz, like Freddie Roach has trained with Ruiz before, said he has one of the hardest punches he's ever felt on the pads. Evander Holyfield had sparred with Ruiz, said he has the fastest hands he's ever seen, and he said, "I hope I never have to fight this guy one day." And Joseph Parker said, "You guys are underestimating Andy Ruiz's boxing ability. I've been in there with him. I know the guy can fight." Joseph Parker's trainer said the same thing. So all these people who actually have firsthand experience with Ruiz, giving the guy props. And you have a guy like Bob Arum who's never thrown or taken a punch in his life, probably, right? And he's gonna critique Andy Ruiz. I mean, is he really qualified to have an opinion? I'm sure everyone has a right to their own opinion. But in terms of really knowing how good a guy is with his boxing ability and his skills, is Bob Arum really a connoisseur on that? I'm going to say no. Bob Arum knows how to make money. That's what Bob Arum knows how to do. He's not a trainer. He's not a boxing scout. He's not a matchmaker. He's got people to do all that for him. So for him to just sit there and say, "Oh, that wasn't Joshua in the ring," blah, 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 regardless of if that was the best Joshua or not, that doesn't matter. All that matters is that was the best Andy Ruiz, and that's what it took to win on the night. You only have to win on the night. It's not like any other sport. It's not a 4 out of 7 series. Well, in this case, I guess it's a 2 out of 3 because they got a rematch clause.
Right.
But it's not like you're gonna.
It's not 2 out of 3 if Joshua wins.
You don't. In order to win the title, you only got to win once. You don't got to win. You don't got to win 4 out of 7 games. So if that guy is not ready on the night, if he doesn't have a rematch clause or whatever, that's on him. But who's to say he wasn't ready on the night? Because again, did I see this coming? Absolutely not. I'm not going to pretend like I thought this was going to happen. But what I did say was Andy Ruiz is a good fighter. I thought he was a better fighter than Big Baby Miller, and I thought that he was a more accomplished fighter, a more skilled fighter than Big Baby Miller, with all due respect to Big Baby Miller. And I thought that this was not going to be a tough fight for Joshua, but it could have been a fight that he wouldn't look great in, is what I thought. I thought he would win. I thought he would win, but I didn't think this was a fight he'd look great in because of Ruiz's style. But go ahead.
Well, I want to add to this. I want your thoughts on this as well. Ruiz, came out talking about this 2 years ago or less than 2 years ago. The guy had, he was broke. He was thinking about just quitting boxing. They had him on the shelf. Top Rank didn't do anything with him. Okay. Al Heyman, a lot of people talk a lot about Al Heyman, but I'll tell you what, man, he saved Ruiz's career. He believed in Ruiz, and look at where he is now because of Al Heyman, if we're honest. But what are your thoughts on that? Can't like Arum just at least acknowledge that I was just wrong. Like I had a gem, I had him signed, and I didn't do anything with him. I decided to call him a slob. I decided to tell people we can't punch worth the lick, and I was just wrong. Well, why can't he just do that?
Well, because some people don't like to admit they made a mistake. They don't like to admit they were wrong. And Bob Arum was wrong about Mayweather. He was wrong about Ruiz, obviously. He's wrong about a lot of fighters. And it's so ironic that Bob Arum has such criticism for Al Heyman, saying, "Oh, the guy doesn't want to work with other promoters, blah, blah, blah." Ashley remembers this clear as day because we used to have conversations about this all the time. Bob Arum back in the day when he had Cotto, when he had Clottey, when he had Margarito, when he had Bradley, when he had Pacquiao, and then he ended up getting Marquez for a while. What did he do? He was the king of in-house fights when he had all the welterweights.
All day. Yes, sir.
Now
Indeed.
Yeah, so now he don't have all the welterweights anymore. So now all of a sudden he wants to play with the other kids on the block. But before he didn't want to play with the other kids on the block. So the hypocrisy is real. The saltiness is real. And I have a shit ton of respect for Bob Arum because he's been in this game for a long time. He's been part of some of the greatest events in the history of the sport. But the thing is let's call it for what it is. Bob Arum doesn't like to admit when he was wrong, and when he is wrong, he tries to throw salt on the person who he was wrong about. History has shown us that. Now all of a sudden, Cotto is an ingrate because Cotto decided to move on and become a promoter himself. This is when he was fighting, of course.
Right.
So it is what it is. Bob Arum is a promoter. Al Heyman is an advisor. The advisor's job is to advise a fighter to do what's best for his career. A promoter's job is to put on the best events. It's not to do anything. It's not to help out the fighter. I'll help out the fighter if the fighter helps out me. The advisor's job, which Al Haymon's position is he does what's best for the fighter. And he's done a lot of good things for a lot of fighters. In terms of his approval rating in boxing, it's got to be like 99%. You're like, you ever really hear anything bad about Al Haymon being said? But you hear a lot of bad things about Bob Arum. You hear a lot of bad things about Eddie Hearn. I don't want to bring Eddie Hearn into this, but promoters care about the events. They don't care about the fighters per se, unless the fighters can help them out.
Now, before I get to Ash's thoughts on Arum, not giving Ruiz his credit, I just want to read some comments real quick. Mr. Male Advice says, Fanon International Boxing sent me across. I'm checking out your live stream for the first time. Welcome. All right. I know I missed a good comment here. Give me a second. All right. Key Boomerang says Ruiz 125-5 as an amateur and 33-1 as a pro. He was robbed against Parker. He started boxing at 6 years old. I saw 12 punches in a row against Parker. Not a lot of boxers can do this, he says. Rod says, Ruiz kept slapping AJ's jab off inside to help him out a lot. Good comments, guys. And Joe Lopez 4 down says, drop some weight, but not much. I guess he wants Ruiz to drop some weight, but not a lot of it. And shout out to Boxing Dialogue. By the way, Ashy, what are your thoughts on Arum? Just being salty.
Okay, Bob Arum. Okay, been around a long time, Hall of Fame promoter, and like Al Haymon, they're Harvard alumni, right? They're have their degrees from Harvard.
Yep.
But Bob Arum was a lawyer too. In order to be a good lawyer, you got to be a good liar. And part of him sustaining his position as one of the top promoters in the top boxing outfits in the sport is to continue to market his brand as if no other brand can't compete with it. And sometimes that require him telling bold-faced fucking lies. And you just got to call a spade a spade. And, on that aspect, from a business aspect, I don't blame him. But as far as giving an honest assessment of a fight or a fighter, then, I gotta throw his ass in the trash because, look, man, like I said before, bodybuilding and boxing are two separate sports. Just because the guy does not look like a Greek god does not mean his hand game is trash. You know what I'm saying? It just does not mean that. You know what I'm saying? The dude showed up on the night of the fight and he did his job. And he did his job well. The dude got off the canvas. When he got off the canvas, AJ tried to put his ass away. He came with some serious heat. And you know what? He shot his fucking load. And because he shot his load, he was not able to fully recover and get himself back back in fight mode where he had his breath, he had his composure. When he was gasping for air, Ruiz capitalized on that. He shot his load, Ruiz got on him and basically tried to deny any possibility of that happening. Now, granted, he still continued to go rounds and he still continued to fight well. But had he not shot his load, had he just set him up and tried to put him down again like a true professional would do, you know what I'm saying? Maybe he would have won the fight. Maybe he would have knocked him out late. Who knows? But the fact of the matter is he shot his load. When Ruiz got up, he tried to unload on him, and there was nothing happening. He was not placing those shots the way they needed to be placed, and he gassed himself. And, at the end of the day, Ruiz, like I said, Ruiz showed up and he did his job. You see a guy in there who don't look like he's fit to be in this type of fight, a world-class championship fight, but he showed you glimpses of what he's made of. Like Beeb said, what Holyfield said about him. He had fast hands. He hits hard. You know what I'm saying? It don't look like much from the outside, but guess what? I'm not getting punched, and punches hurt. You know what I'm saying? They hurt. And this guy walks around at probably 300 pounds. So even though those shots don't look like a Wilder shot or a Tyson shot, you better believe it got something on it, because it's a reason why Anthony Joshua didn't just steamroll him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Ruiz got his respect, and he did what he had to do to win the fight and do it in impressive fashion. So just Bob Arum not giving him his credit is kind of sour, because these type of upsets is what turns mainstream fans into hardcore fans, because they got to figure out what the hell their eyes just saw.
Yeah.
Because guess what? This is not an eye contest, and just because a guy is a underdog by 12 to 20 points does not mean the fight's going to play out that way. This is not a team sport. The ring sorts out the facts, nothing else. And on that night, somebody dared to be great, and they did whatever it took to become the next or the first Mexican-American heavyweight champion, and you got to eat it. You got to deal with it. So this was big, man. When Ali said I shook up the world, this is what Ruiz just did. This is what Ruiz just did, because nobody saw this. Maybe a few people, but roughly nobody thought this was going to happen. So this is his moment, man.
Well, I want to read some comments real quick. Underground Asylum says, new sub, checking your live stream for the first time. Shout out to Fanon. Fanon has been shouting me out. Good stuff, man. You guys check him out. You know, get a lot of support from that guy, man. And he actually, on one of his live stream, I actually said, I'm going to have Ashy Knuckles on. He knew who you were, Ash. Right? He's like, I remember that guy. You know, but...
Oh, yeah. I check out Fanon stuff every now and then. Whenever I can check out YouTube stuff, I plug in, you know. I plug in with everybody. I just don't be commentating and doing a whole lot of talking. Right. But I listen, because there's nothing like good, honest, and solid boxing talk. And you're going to get that whenever you tune in to Fanon International, man. All the time. No, I know who he is. You know, Blood used to always shout him out all the time. That's how I learned about him.
Gotcha.
So
and shout out to Haplotype in the house. Joe Lopez 40 ounce in the house as well. Shout out to you guys. To your point, Ashley, I remember I went to go see you guys remember Escalante, right, from El Paso?
Yeah.
I went to see him fight one time. He was in the main event. And you know, there was like a lightweight fight that I saw. I don't remember the name of the guys. They were like obscure dudes, but you know, there was some good fights going on. It was here at the Coliseum, man. I remember two heavyweights went to the ring. And that's when I realized that everything they say is true. Like you in your lifetime, you have to see a heavyweight title fight, you know, because it's not even close. Like how the punches sound, it's unbelievable. You have to watch a heavyweight fight. I don't care if it's two dudes ranked 100th in the world. Okay, go watch two heavyweights fight. Go watch them thump in the middle of the ring, in person, not on TV. And I'm telling you, you're gonna feel those punches, the wave of them. You're gonna hear it. They're gonna sound different. They're gonna feel different, and you're gonna have a whole nother appreciation for heavyweight boxing, right? So anyone out there saying that Ruiz can't punch and you guys do not know anything, the dude can't punch. Almost everybody, okay, can punch in the heavyweight division. And I think Ruiz is above average when it comes to punching power in that weight class. I don't know if you agree with that, Ash. You there, Ashy?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I logged off. But yeah, man. Hell, man. It's one thing seeing, like you said, there's one thing seeing it on TV. It's another thing seeing it live. And if you've been around boxing gyms, there's nothing more live than going in the gym and seeing them go hard. You know what I'm saying? I done seen dudes get their teeth knocked smooth the hell out of their mouth in the gym. So I'm gonna tell you straight up, punches hurt. And some don't look fancy, some don't have the like I said, like Tyson used to punch. You knew when he punched, it was oohs and ahs. Some don't look like that. But punches hurt, man. And you gotta have respect for what you watch. And these two guys are getting in the ring and they're gonna give it all they got. They're warriors, man. It's true to life. You gotta respect it, man. Whether you like the guy or not, you gotta respect what he just did. And that's point blank, period, man. Forget all the hating.
Definitely. And I also want to say that this is your daily reminder that this is Juan Manuel Marquez Appreciation Week. You guys can go to DStyleBoxing, my YouTube channel, go to community. You can vote. Okay, you still have 2 more hours or so to vote. All right, on who we're going to appreciate. Shane Mosley is leading, but you have Timothy Bradley, you have Marcos Maidana, and you got the Klitschko brothers. Okay, and then, of course, in the other poll, I hope you guys vote Morales, but go ahead and check out those polls. Okay, Barrera slightly beating Morales right now, which I'm angry about. This is a travesty, but we're not going to talk about that right now. Okay, what we're going to talk about right now, I'm glad to have you two on. Everybody's hurting me to death talking about Marquez this week, so I want to give you two the floor. First, Joe, Marquez, just in general, man, talk to us. What are your thoughts on this guy?
I love Juan Manuel Marquez.
You there, Joe?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I think it froze. Go ahead, Ashley. What are your thoughts on Juan Manuel Marquez?
Oh, okay. Sure. I heard Joe actually loud and clear right there, but I'll definitely take it first. Hall of Fame fighter, man. I mean, this guy, you know, he was to me, you know, and maybe to a lot of other people, he was denied greatness early in his career. You know, he didn't get a chance to fight the Eric Morales or whatnot and the Prince Nassim Ahmed, those type of guys. But he was around, you know what I'm saying? He was around. He probably weren't oh goodness, I'm still here. Like I said before, he wasn't in the category of fighter at the time where Morales blew up or the time where Barrera blew up, but he was on his way up and he was available to fight and he was winning his fight. So since he couldn't get big fights early in his career, all he could do is keep winning. So over time, he was able to get the big fights because he started winning world titles and whatnot. And then the big fights start showing up. He started knocking off heavy hitters as he continued to climb and gain prestige in the world of boxing. And what really set him apart and brought him to a whole different category, upper echelon, is the fights with Pacquiao, obviously. But he was knocking guys off prior to even getting to Pacquiao. You know what I'm saying? So he's a very accomplished fighter. He's won titles in I don't know how many divisions, 4 or 5. I think it's 4. And I think the highlight of his career is like I said, it's got to be those fights. It's got to be those fights with Pacquiao. You know, the arguments that ensued behind those fights with Pacquiao, man. The first fight with Pacquiao, when a lot of people thought Pacquiao should have won based on him knocking Marquez down. What was it, 3 or 4 times in the first round?
3 times,
3 times in the first round, and it ended up being a great fight. You know, and that should have been a Pacquiao. Maybe it should have been a Pacquiao victory, but it wasn't. Then the second fight was a whole lot more competitive, and Pacquiao the one, because to me in that fight, Marquez blanked Pacquiao, and they took victory out of his hands. Now, this is my own assessment. Okay? But the fourth one is what sealed the deal. There's no way you could be robbed when you knock somebody the fuck out. And that is definitely the highlight, the highest point of his career. He didn't need to have a fifth match. He was the guy who basically put an end to the reign of this monster from the Philippines. Now, it didn't stop that monster from the Philippines from still being a monster. Don't get it twisted. Pacquiao is still Pacquiao, but Marquez is the one that cemented his legacy by knocking him out, planking him. But outside of that, man, when you talk about just pure ability, the dude could place shots in areas where no other fighter could. His timing was so, man, it's just hard to explain. His timing was so good because he counted you in combination. It's not like he was just counterpunching with one shot here or 2 there. When he came back with his, he came back with 3 or 4s, and he was putting them in shots he was putting them in places you didn't know existed, underneath your elbow. You know what I'm saying? In your ribs. You know what I'm saying? Hit you with an uppercut in there. You know, I mean, his shot placement was like I said before, he's one of my favorite fighters of all time, and he definitely cemented himself as one of the top Mexican fighters ever. In fact, I was just in Mexico earlier this year in March, and I was asking a lot of the locals about boxing, talking about Canelo, and they wanted to talk about Marquez. So I don't know how else to say it. He is that guy, and that's probably why he's so hard on Canelo whenever he's in interviews, because he works so hard to achieve this greatness that he receives on his homeland, and I don't think he's ready to just give it up, to turn it over to Canelo, even though Canelo's a beast. So as far as that, I don't know what's going on with that, but as far as Marquez, if you were ever to piece together a fighter, there has got to be definitely 3 or 4 different attributes or skills that Marquez does that you want your fighter to do like him. You know what I'm saying? He is definitely a guy that you can mimic in 3 or 4 areas. So he's one of the best of all time, man. He kind of hurt my feelings when he knocked off one of my friends, Juan Diaz. But it is what it is. When you got 2 good fighters in the ring, somebody got to catch that L. And unfortunately, yeah. Unfortunately, in those 2 fights, Juan caught those L's, man. So, but unbelievable fighter, man. That's what I got to say about him.
Yeah, when it went Juan on Juan, they did. That was a hell of a fight, though. All right, hell of a fight. You ever get to talk to Juan Diaz about that fight?
Yeah, plenty of times, man. Ironically, he says when he first got in the ring with Marquez, he said once he felt his power, he was like, man, he ain't shit. So he started going after him. You know what I'm saying? But over time, he said Marquez is so smart that when you think you're on him, that's when really he got you right where he wants you. And he's going to play shots in areas. And over time, your energy is going to start leaving up out of you. You're going to start gasping for air where you weren't when you weren't earlier on. He's going to find those openings and he's going to take advantage. And when he does, it may be too much for you to come back from. You know what I'm saying? Because he said he's been in the ring with harder punchers, but as far as skill and intelligence, he says nobody can match him. So, and Juan was tough, man. He was a tough guy. Boy, if Juan had power, god damn, boy, the fighter he could have been. He was a 4-time world champion too. So,
yeah.
But he was, yeah.
Now, A-Rod83 says, if there's people out here in California, Barrera, Marquez, Morales, and Chavez are going to be in the Bay for a meet and greet. Holy shit. Okay. Oh, man. That's something. That's a hell of a meet and greet. You guys check that out if you're over there in California. Beeb, let's see if I can hear you now. I know it was my fault, but are you there?
Yes.
Same question, man. Marquez in general, take it all the way to the Pacquiao fights.
I used to get so frustrated watching those Pacquiao fights because I thought Pacquiao won the first fight, but I thought Marquez won the second and the third, and obviously we know what happened in the fourth. So I was just so frustrated for Marquez, and I was so happy for him when he finally knocked him out in the fourth fight, because that was vindication for everything, and that was definitely the highlight of his career. This was a guy, if I'm not mistaken, was the only Mexican to win 4 world titles in 4 different weight classes. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right on that one. And he fought everybody. He never ducked a challenge. He could say that he fought the 2 greatest fighters in the era, Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, and he could say he beat one of them. So
not bad. 2 out of 1. 1 out of 2. Sorry, not bad.
And he was always thought of as one of the top 2 or 3 best boxers in the world when he was active. So what else can you say about this guy? He's definitely going to be a Hall of Famer. And I'm the type of guy where I like counterpunchers. I like guys who are skilled. And Marquez could do a little bit of everything. I mean, he could come forward. He could take the fight to you. He could fight off the front foot, the back foot when he had to. So a guy like Marquez would be a tough task for anybody, because he had the ability to adapt in that ring. He had the ability to see what you were doing in that ring, and he could pick up on it, and he could take your best weapons away from you. And he was a different type of counterpuncher. He wasn't like the catch and shoot type of counter puncher that Floyd Mayweather was. But like Ashley said, he would punch with you, and he would create the angle for himself and take the angle away from you. And a lot of times he had great timing where he would stop before you started, and he would anticipate what you were going to do before you were going to do it. So he would get to a spot in the ring, beat you to that spot in the ring before you could get your feet set, before you can get in position to throw. And he'd throw, and he'd be in position, and his opponent would throw and be out of position, and his punch would get there first. So this was a very, very intelligent fighter. And his brain was the type of brain, like Virgil Hunter used to say about Andre Ward, he could process things just faster than everybody. Juan Marquez was that same type of fighter where he could just process things faster than everybody. That's why he was able to anticipate things so well, because he wasn't the fastest guy in the world. He had a good punch, but he wasn't the hardest puncher in the world. Manny Pacquiao was a more athletic guy than him. He was faster. He could arguably probably hit harder than him too as well. But what got him through in those fights was his brain. And that's not to say Manny Pacquiao wasn't a smart fighter either. But Marquez could just he had that ability. He was an adaptive, reactive type fighter where he could just pick up on what you're doing and it would be instilled in his brain. So you could do something one time and you may not be able to do it another time. That's just how great this guy was.
Definitely, man. I want to ask both of you, what was your reaction, right? What was your reaction when you saw the first knockdown of the fourth fight, and then the knockout? Beeb, what was your reaction?
When he knocked him down the first time, I said to myself, now he's got a 2-point round, and the fight, if it's close, at least he's got that edge, that little cushion for himself. So I'm saying to myself, they can't rob him this time. And then when he knocked him out in the sixth, I said, well, now they definitely can't rob him this time. He finally beat this guy. I was so happy for him.
Checkmate, yeah.
So,
do you buy that he was about to get finished by Pacquiao? What is your theory on that?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, Marquez, he seemed to have his wits about him. Obviously, he lost the round. Obviously, he was hurt. But throughout that whole exchange, he was still punching back. It wasn't like he wasn't punching back. And he had his legs underneath him, so no, I don't believe that.
Yeah, I saw Marquez plenty of rounds where like, oh, he might get him, and then he would come back and hit the dude with the right hand.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. My reaction, first knockdown, my eyes just went wide open, man. Right? They popped wide open. Like I couldn't believe what I just saw because of the way Pacquiao went down. And he'd hit Pacquiao with clean right hands for the first 3 fights. Never did that. The knockdown, man, when he knocked him out, I lost my old channel because of that fight. Because Manny Pacquiao was face down. I videotaped that thing and I uploaded it on YouTube because I was screaming. I couldn't believe it. Okay. They flagged me down, right? Bunch of salty Pacquiao fans. It's all right. Okay, but Ashy, what do you remember about that fight, the first knockdown and the knockout?
Well, when the first knockdown happened, my response is the same as anytime anybody get put down. I always say, on your ass, motherfucker, whenever somebody get put down. You know what I'm saying? And, it was a big moment in the fight. It was something we weren't accustomed to seeing. Him timing Pacquiao, we were definitely accustomed to that. And Pacquiao coming on, we're accustomed to that. So it was a typical Marquez versus Pacquiao fight. But when the knockdown happened, I'm like, oh, it started getting interesting. I'm like, oh, shit, he on your ass one more time. But Pacquiao started coming back, and he was coming on like a motherfucker too, boy. And Marquez probably wasn't on his way out of the fight, but he was leaking. His nose was bleeding profusely, so he was probably having trouble breathing because he was leaking, and he was on the back foot. But was he on the back foot because he was trying to be in retreat, or he was trying to set Pacquiao up and use his aggression against him? Where it turned out to be the latter, because he timed that rangefinder of Pacquiao's, and he slipped it, and he came with an overhand and met Pacquiao directly in the middle of his face and put him to sleep. And when that one happened, I yelled so loud, boy, I woke up everybody in the house. I was like, ah! I mean, I was just tripping, man. I could not believe what I just saw. I mean, that wasn't no stoppage. That wasn't no TKO. That was a knockout. Count to 100. Yo, bring the salt. He is done. Stick a fork in him. You know what I'm saying? That was a legit KO. That was one of the best KOs I ever seen in the history of boxing. And since I've been alive, witnessing it live. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that was huge. Like I said before, man, that was the fight to cement his legacy because he was the one to stop the reign of this monster. But like I said previously, it didn't stop Pacquiao from being a monster. He was still Pacquiao, but Marquez's name was in a whole different light because he knocked this monster out where a lot of people really didn't want to get in the ring with Pacquiao at that time. People were saying the greatest fighter of this era, Mayweather, people were saying he was ducking Pacquiao. I mean, a lot of people. And Marquez was the one who to put him down and put him to sleep. So even Mayweather's victory over Pacquiao does not have the acclaim and the status of what Marquez's win over him has. The only thing that makes Mayweather probably stand out more so is out of all those three great pound for pound fighters of this era is the fact that Mayweather beat them both. That's what makes him stand out. But the Pacquiao from Marquez moment to me, even though probably for hardcore boxing fans it's a bigger moment. It was a better fight. You know what I'm saying? It had a better dramatic ending. It probably wasn't the biggest fight because Pacquiao and Mayweather sold like 100 million goddamn pay-per-view buys, but the fight sucked.
Yeah, it did.
So at the end, and Pacquiao was already soundly defeated by Marquez. So no, that was Marquez's moment. That's what made him who he is. Probably in Mexico, like I said, I was just there, and they love him there more so than Canelo. Canelo's a star, but he not Marquez. Not in Mexico. I was just there. In fact, I was trying to go back. I was trying to go back for the 4th next month, but the flights are insane right now, so I'm not going.
Yeah.
So, but no, hell no, man. Mark, he did that shit, man. I blew up this fucking house, dude.
Well, it's definitely, man. Well said. I mean, that was my reaction. Yeah, that was my reaction for sure. Okay. Oh shit, and oh my god, I said a lot of shit. Okay, but I couldn't believe what I had just seen. He's not getting up, Jim. He's not getting up, Jim. He's not getting up, right? That's the words of Roy Jones Jr. I need to ask both of you, Ashy, really quick. Which of the 4 fights, which one was your favorite?
The boxing purist in me would have to say the 3rd fight. Yeah. Because in the 3rd fight, Marquez gave you a glimpse. If he was just if he didn't want to make it entertaining as far as back and forth, knockout, drag out fight between 2 elite fighters, he said, I'm going to show you what my skill level can do. You probably not going to like the fight because it's not going to entertain you as much as the other ones did, but I'm going to show you its levels. You know what I'm saying? And that's what he did because he was whooping his ass and he was just pivoting, half pivot, full pivot to the left the whole fight, and Pacquiao could never pick up on it. You know what I'm saying? And he basically won 9 rounds out of that fight. You know what I'm saying? Easy. Yeah. And he got robbed. And the only thing that make it that takes away from that fight is the fact that they didn't give him his damn victory. So because of that, I would have to say the 4th one because he sealed the deal. But the boxing purist in me will want to say the 3rd one.
All right. What about you, Beeb? Which is your favorite of the 4?
I loved the 3rd one because I just thought that was a boxing lesson, man. That was a boxing lesson.
Was the narrative going in kind of help that?
Well, I just remember, no disrespect to Calix, but that was the fight where Calix, after that fight, he goes, Beeb, you were trying to walk me off that ledge. You were telling me that Pacquiao has flaws. You were telling me that he was beatable. You were telling me that Marquez was going to beat him. You were telling me that Mayweather was going to beat him. And he goes, I was wrong, Beeb. I believe you. So that was kind of this was the fight that really showed that Marquez had Pacquiao's number, in my opinion, and that's why I liked it so much. Now in the fourth fight, that was a tougher fight for Marquez because in his mind he said to himself, you know what? They're not going to give me a decision, so guess what? I got to knock this dude out. I got to go for broke here. And, you know, he said to himself, they're not going to reward me for my skills. They're not going to reward me for my counter-punching abilities. They're not going to reward me when I take a step back and suck this guy into a trap and I land a punch. I'm still not going to win rounds doing that, which he should have won rounds doing that if the judges were fair, in my opinion. But that's why I liked the third fight, because I thought he took Pacquiao to school. Where in the fourth fight, he went to war with Pacquiao, and he put himself in harm's way. And I respect the fact that he did that, because if he didn't, it's quite possible he wouldn't have got the knockout. It's quite possible if it went to the decision, they would have robbed him again. But in terms of just pure ability and just like Ashy said, being a boxing purist, the boxing purist in me likes the third fight, and I like the boxing. That's me. I like a good dust up as well, but I prefer the boxing first.
Well, look, man, my favorite, as a boxing fan, my favorite one is the second one, because that was the most competitive one. That was the most seesaw one of them all, in my opinion. Right? I think that was the closest one. I think that's the one that's the most difficult to score, to be honest with you. But everyone feels different, man. The great thing about everyone has a different answer when it comes to this. It's not a trilogy, because what do you call it? Anthology? I have no idea. Right. But it's everyone has, like, Calix's favorite is the first fight, right? Just because it's dramatic. He gets up from 3 knockdowns and gets battered in the second round still. Then he comes back, and it's amazing. Arguably won the first fight, depending on how you scored. But mine's the second. You guys like the third. Fair enough. Okay, I'm outvoted.
I like them all, bro. I like them all, and I definitely understand why you like the second one. That's a great point. It was a seesaw fight, and it was hard to score. So it ain't like you could choose wrong in these 4 fights, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad I witnessed these 4. I mean, we witnessed the Israel Vasquez and Rafael Marquez 4 fights too, and that wasn't bad too. So the Marquez brothers gave us some gems, bro.
Yeah, they did give us some gems, and that's why this is Marquez of Queensberry week. Ashy, give us some final thoughts.
Well, we saw some recent upsets in the sport of boxing, and I think it's great. It sucks for AJ and, of course, his fans, and I don't want any of the boxing fans in the UK to feel that we're taking shots at their guy. But the only way that you can get the good press is what you accomplish in the ring. He took a loss, but he has the ability to right that wrong and reclaim what was his. But as for now, the guy who wins, he's got to get all the attention because of what he did. And like I said, I think boxing is in a real good place right now. It could be better. The fights that we want to see, we want to see them. We want to see them now, damn it. Not tomorrow, not next year, not in 5 years from now. Forget all that building fights and doing all this and that, because it's a reason why you need to have those fights now. And the reason why is the guy Ruiz just canceled the plans between AJ and Wilder. It's got to get on the back burner now. Now, it does give us more competitive fights moving forward because we got a new player in the division, but still, we did not get to see the fight we wanted to see. But as far as the talent that's in the sport of boxing across the spectrum, man, it's a lot of talent in the fight. But if we can get these talents together, like your Errol Spences and your Terrence Crawfords, man, that would be great. Now, we're getting we're getting Porter and Spence, but that's an appetizer when we're looking for the main course, if you follow along. So, like I said, the sport is in a good place, but, us as boxing fans, we want more. We always want more. But for right now, I'm good. I can deal with what we have until we get these big fights, man. We just got to keep pressing the issue.
Awesome, man. You know what I said, okay? I said this a couple of weeks ago, or just right after the Ruiz fight. I said, if you're marinating the meat, if you're marinating a fight, don't fight a Mexican. Okay? Juan Manuel Lopez learned that with Salido. Okay? Pacquiao learned that with Marquez when they were trying to marinate the Mayweather fight. And, of course, Joshua learned that. Because you know what that is? That's a carne asada. Okay? That is... They're going to put that shit on the grill. That marinated meat looks good. All right? We're going to put that shit. We're going to do a carne asada with that shit. All right? You best believe. Joe Beeb closes out, man. Give us some final thoughts and tell everybody where they can find you.
Find me at Ringside Reporter Live. We go live every Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Ringside Reporter Podcast. We got a great weekend of boxing coming up. I'm not crazy about the Fury fight, the Fury-Tom Schwartz fight, but on ESPN Plus, there's another interesting matchup other than that one, and it's Warrington versus Kid Galahad. That's going to be a really good matchup. And on the Zone, we got the WBSS semifinals. We got Breedis and Glowacki, and then we got Dorticos versus Andrew Tabiti. So that's the cruiserweight World Boxing Super Series on the Zone. So I'm looking forward to that. And I just hope that eventually this heavyweight division gets sorted out. I'm curious to see how this rematch with Joshua plays out. It looks like it's going to be in the United States, so let's see if Joshua can get a victory over here. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see if this Wilder Fury rematch comes about too. Fury says that he hasn't signed anything, that he's not going to fight Wilder. And that's the thing with Fury. You never know if he's gonna fight you until he's actually in the ring with you, because he's pulled out of a lot of fights. As much as I'm a fan of Tyson Fury, I do know that the guy is erratic. And what I do fear this weekend is,
you could say that again, babe. Yeah.
Yeah. What I do fear this weekend is he fights down to the level of his opposition. Do I think he's gonna lose? No. But the fight could turn into a sparring session, and it may not be pleasing to the eye. So that's something to think about, something to keep an eye on. And we're going to be doing a live commentary for that fight, Eric and I. I think I'm going to jump on and do a live commentary for the Galahad Warrington fight as well. So busy day tomorrow. Great weekend of boxing, and this is what we look forward to as boxing fans. So hopefully they can just keep it going and we can get the great fight.
Most definitely. And we got to work on somehow doing at least a one night only rope-a-dope radio show. All right. Get Calix, Chris Carlson. We got to do it again. One time. Right.
Yeah, why not? All right.
Definitely. I want to thank both of you guys for joining me, man. This was great. I want to thank the chat for joining me. This is DStyleBoxing. Hit that subscribe button. Keep it boxing, guys. We're out.
Peace.